Hello, and welcome again to If I Can, You Can Talk Shows. I am Deborah Philbert, your host today, and I want to say Happy Mother's Day. Pre-Mother's Day. This weekend we celebrate Mother's Day, and we celebrate all the mothers around the world today. And today we have a special mother, which I talked about. You have your traditional mom, but it's not your mom sometimes that gives you all the advice you want, but you always have other people who you can consider your mom. And so I want also would love to thank all the people who, follow us on Facebook, on Imagine TV, and all over the world. I want to say thank you for all the comments and all the feedback that you give us. And that's very important for us so that we can keep the show going and have, make it more appealing to people, to everyone. I would always like us to thank the islands, like everyone from Africa, from New Zealand, from Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, Australia, and around the world right now today, even we're in Africa. And I think pretty soon we're going to be streaming live in Dominica. So this is such a blessing. So everyone who out there who follow us and all over the world, even in the 50 states right now. Right now we are also streaming on Imagine TV, Roku, Facebook Live, and Amazon Fire. So you can hop onto any one of these stations and listen also invite your friends. Go on and invite. When I think about Mother's Day, it just brought me back to I am a mom, and I became a mom at 22. But it was difficult as a young mom to really raise 3 kids. It was really difficult. And so sometimes I had to lean on other mothers, lean on others, I would say, senior mothers or mothers who would help me or give me advice on how to raise my kids, what to do as a mom, because it was really struggling. But today I'm so grateful that I have 3 beautiful kids, and they are all successful in their own way. They are all successful in what things. So I give myself kudos for that, even though I had my struggles, but at least my kids are, free from that. Again, I want you to go on and share. And thank you guys again for coming on. And if you're looking tonight, we have a great treat for you today. So just hop on. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Okay, so today when I said I have a second mom and I had my first mom, I think, can you just put that photo up of my mom and I'm going to introduce you to my mom and my grandma, the ones who raised me, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So today I have for me, it's going to be my left. That's my grandmother, and she raised me. And on my right is my mom. And so when I look back at parents, my mom had me when she was 16. So my grandmother was the one who raised me. She raised 6 of us. My mom had 6 of us. She raised 6 of us. And just recently, I just think back. I was talking to someone and I look back and I was like, it's not always your mom who is the one who will give you the advice. It's not always your mom who is the one who will mold you to who you are today. So my grandma raised my mom because she adopted my mom when she was a baby. And my mom had me at 16. So my grandma was the one who, when I look back, if it wasn't for her, I would not be here today. If it wasn't for her, I would not be who I am today. If it wasn't for all that she did for us and my other siblings, we would not be who we are today. We would not be successful in whatever we are today. For me, um, being abused as a child, I never spoke about it until I was in my 40s. But still, when I value back now, and in those days, like growing up in the islands, parents don't speak to you. They don't talk to you because it's that fear of a child speaking to their parents. So you couldn't tell them what's going on in your life because you would be that bad child, or you had to get a spanking, or it's not that conversation. So I always get my conversation from other people, other moms or other older people. I had my godmother, she became that pillar for me. That's the one I could have talked to with any struggles that I was going on to. But she passed away, when I was like 16. So my struggle keep on going because I couldn't talk to my grandmother and I couldn't talk to my mom. But I still value them because if it wasn't for these two women, I would not be here. I would here today. I would not be Deborah Philbert. So I want to say thank you to Agatha Philbert for being that mom, for bringing me into this world and still here today. And I thank you for Rhoda Stanislaus, who was that pillar that made for me who I am today. So today I have my second mom, well, my third mom, which is MT. I call her MT, but her name is Maria Teresa Rivera. And we met at a church retreat. Yeah. And so a little bit about that. I had just moved to Georgia. And I went, we're Catholic, we're both Catholic, and I'm proud of who I am. And so I went to this retreat, which I really didn't know anyone, right? At that time, I didn't know anyone. And we, in our retreat, we have like people telling their stories. And that night, another sister was telling her story. And for me, I'm like, wow, because all these years, you get the gist of me, all these years, I never told my story to anyone. I never told anyone what I was going through. And, it was a struggle. I always was quiet. I would not talk and I would not make friends easy. But MT was the driver that night. And thank God for that. And thank God for that. And so she would drive one night, I would drive one night when we have retreats. And she became that good friend to me. And that was MT was the first person in all my 40 something years of life that I told my story to. And I don't want to cry, but it was, and I felt like, wow, I found somebody who could be a mom to me. Who I said, look, MT, what this woman said today, this was me. This was me. And I never told it to anyone else. But the thing about MT, she listened to me. She consoled me. She just because she was present at what I was saying, I value that. And I would thank you publicly today. Because if it wasn't for me talking to you, I would not be on this talk show today. I would not be sharing my story. I would not be afraid to share my story. So, MT, one thing on this show, we're going to go on with the other stories, but one thing on this show, I want the world to know who you are. Because I know you're a powerful woman. You're a great mom. You're a grandma. You have all the love, not only for me, but for everyone in your community too. And you are such a spiritual person to me. Because I remember sometimes when I was like feeling bad, you pulled me up. That time when I feel that I didn't want to go there, I can call you and rely on you. So today, tell me about, the world wants to know about my third mom, because she made me say that yesterday. She's not my second mom, and she who made me realize that my grandma was my mom was my first mom, but my grandma was my second mom. So my third mom. So can you tell the audience a little bit about you, about the story about you, and then we can go.
Well, as Deborah said, my name is Maria Teresa, one word, Rivera, and I'm from El Salvador. And I've been in the States since I was 15. I went to school. I went to the university and I got married. I travel. I One of my hobbies has been traveling, and I enjoy traveling a lot. I have three daughters, and the three of them are called Marias too. And after a while, I've been a single mother, and I got involved. Actually, I went back to my church. I never got out of church. God was always with me, but um, I I used to live in Miami. I lived in Washington, and that's where I went to school. And then I went to Europe and to study how to organize international affairs, and went back to Salvador. And then I I decided to go back to come back here to the States, and I came to Miami. And after many years in Miami, I went back to school again in Miami, and I'm a spiritual director, and also I'm a, I'm a what is called lay ministry in the church. But I like to work with the Spanish community because I felt that working for the Spanish community is very important because we um, we are Spanish people. We are kind of different. That you know, in every country, and we're different. To Americans, but we need God always very close to us in our lives, and yeah, and I feel that all through my life, I learned to have big ears,
Yeah, that's a compassionate mom. You listen.
big ears, and just listen and have your mouth shut.
Yes,
You
you
can
really.
listen, and then the Lord will give you the words,
Yes.
what people needs to hear. And that's how I met Deborah.
I know.
And we've been friends for almost 11 years.
11. Yeah, it could be about that or more. It's 2010.
No,
Something
it
like that.
was, no, now it's going to be 13.
13.
Yes.
13 years. So,
That's right.
and it's not too late for someone to get, find their second or third mom
Yeah,
in their life, even when you become adults.
that's right.
And so my mom don't originally live here.
Mhm.
And I moved. The thing about with me moving, I felt like I was always running after talking to you. I was always running from that hurt and that pain that I couldn't talk about. So
That's
I
right.
felt that I left my country too. I gave up my job because I wanted something better, but then I realized that wasn't it. I was still running.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes we feel that our life is just running, and all of a sudden the changes in our lives brings us to new people, new families, and all of a sudden our kids are grown up,
Mm-hmm.
and then they go and have their own
Family.
families, and that what happened to me.
I know, right?
But
I know.
but then you have your church, your
Church
family
family.
from
Yeah.
church,
Yeah.
And that's why, that's why we grow up and we learn that, as I said, to have big ears and a very small mouth,
Yeah, yes. It
so
is.
that you learn to listen. And when we learn to listen, as I said, God make us
We do.
say the proper words. And not only that, but you do it with love. And when you do things with love, you you can say that that's the spirit of
It's the Spirit
God
of
in
God.
you.
Yeah. You're
Yeah,
going back to for looking, saying that and listening back, going back. When I took my walk back from where I came from, and one day I was in my car and I'm like, God, why did you do this to me? Why, I was, why,
that's
God?
right. That's
Because
right.
we asked God, why are you doing this to me? Why did this happen to me? Why I'm not, that why? And I realized, you know what? I was blessed, and probably He took me out from where I was to show me and guide me in a different way, because sometimes He has a plan for you.
Oh yes,
He has a
we
plan for
all
you,
do.
and that was the plan He had for me. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that that
That's
was the
right.
plan He had for me. So sometimes I talk to you about, and something honestly, MT was one of the person I think you probably were fed up of me.
But as I said, you when you love somebody, even if you don't see them and you're not, so close. I mean, you are close
Close,
in
but
your heart, but sometimes life put us in different ways,
yes.
and that's when we realized that, oh, I haven't called her, I haven't seen
It's,
her. Where is she? And
our breakfast together,
going to have breakfast. Yes, that's right.
our road trip together, all these the
Yeah,
things that
she.
made me, it's something that I didn't have when I was, and I love to travel. Empty know that. I love to travel, but I couldn't do it at that time.
That's right.
But we do little road trip together, little stuff together that made me feel, oh, I'm doing what I love.
That's
I'm
right.
doing what I love, but I have that. You and Diane was like those two,
Oh
yes,
yes,
two,
yeah,
pillars that helped me to be who I am today.
that's
Helped
right.
me to think away the negative and the toxic relationships I was in. Like helped me as a mom didn't tell you,
Yeah,
but you could have tell me.
and that's always, even in my country, that it's very hard to talk to your parents,
Yeah,
and sometimes you find God puts the right person for you to talk to.
right.
And as I said, we learn to listen, and then if you you say something just the way and the moment has
That
to be right.
it has to be right, and I think that was the right moment for me. I can't remember the date, but I know it was a Thursday night. But that Thursday night changed my life around. It changed me. Where I still remain timid for a couple of years after, right? But
Mhm.
still, it was something that I know I told someone,
Yeah.
and that person did not, you know, give me that value, not value me like less than someone else. And that felt good. That
And,
felt good.
and when you're listening to people, you sometimes it's not the right time to listen, and but all of a sudden it is right. It is
Yeah,
something that it comes from your heart, and you have to do it.
yeah.
And and I always admired the Deborah, the way she is. She has she's been doing the right things. She's been growing up
Yeah,
in a lot of
a lot
ways,
of
a
ways.
lot of
Yeah,
ways.
I know.
And that compassion, that love for people, love for her people to have, you know, to be better, because we all want that for our people.
People, yeah, and I always say
You
that
know,
when we look at it, God didn't put us here for us alone. He put
No.
us here to help. And that's when I realized now, him coming, I'm leaving. I left the corporate world. I left the world there. I had everything. At 22, I could afford, I can travel where I want. But when I moved here, I understand what poverty was. I understand was to live without, right? But many people passed through my life who helped me, but it didn't impact me as when I moved here and I met you. That it because people passed through my life, but I was so angry. I was still hurting from that childhood. Even I
Mhm.
had my kids. I was still, it was still toxic to me. Even my marriage became toxic.
Yeah.
And even, I told you all that, you know, all that. It's just that that toxicity in my marriage, and it couldn't, you know, I couldn't understand. And when my kids, it's like sometimes it's just recently that we really had that communication, that I sat down and told them what happened to me. And when I look back, because I was hurting my kids.
That's right. That's right. That's something that you have to be very, very careful because, you know, the most important persons that you have after God is you
Mhm.
and then your kids.
Yes, yes.
When you have a husband, then after God, after you, is your husband.
Mhm.
But when you know, single mothers, we have to think that the next person after you are your
My
kids.
kids, yes. And
With the grandkids, it's a different story. The most wonderful people in the world. I have
yeah,
two beautiful, beautiful, a handsome guy
I know.
and a beautiful girl, and they, it's different. I mean, I don't live with them, but I think of them
Every
every
day,
minute,
every
every
day. Yeah,
day.
I have
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah, and you believe now she's 16. Just that one. I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna have any more because all my kids is like, oh, they don't want any more.
yeah.
But you know, we never know, right? It's never
That's
too
right.
late.
That's right.
But it's such a joy now that when I see her growing up, and I'm blessed that I'm around her, but sometimes I realize too our communication is not that great. Because, you know, when they get older, it's like, no, I want to do it, I want thing, you know, and stuff. So, you know, but still I'm blessed to be around her. I'm blessed to be to see my granddaughter grow. And what I'm blessed about that I could they didn't have to go through what I went through.
Oh, that's right.
That's one thing I'm
Yeah.
blessed. And I tell moms out there, I know I have a lot of moms who out there who go through abuse, who go through, you know, toxic marriages, or, you know, you're afraid to talk about it. But then we came and we have kids. My mom had us. I never knew my dad was. Never knew who my dad was until when I decided. And for me, one part of my story, I said I would not be my mom, so I decided to get married. And I realized my sister told me because I got married, she got married.
Mhm.
And you know, I didn't realize that, you know. But I choose to get married. But then when I look back, as now I'm older, it was wrong reason.
Oh, no.
It wasn't the right reason. And a lot of moms do that.
Yeah. That's something in, you know, sometimes I think that we get married for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And that's unless you really love the person. It's not only being in love, is being in love goes, I think that it goes away, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have that love which is part of you, is part of God, and God gives it to you.
Yeah.
And but we have to, if we made a mistake, you know, well,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
we have to accept
We
it
have
that
to
we made
accept
a
it. I
mistake.
accept the mistake that I
Yeah,
made, and
we have
if
to.
I should, but you know, I'm still grateful. I have my three kids, right? From that, I had it from that marriage, but I would not make. And I try to tell my kids, don't make that same mistake, because you got to put God first in any marriage, and then you did not put Him first. Because
That's
if you
right.
ask Him, He will guide you. And that time, yes, I was in my faith, but when you're young, you just go to church for going to church's sake.
Mhm. That's not the reason why you go to church,
That's not the reason why. Now I know that. But
Yeah.
that wasn't the reason why you go to church. But you go to church because you have to go to church. And that was a stipulation in the islands.
Yeah.
You got to go to church every Sunday. You got to put God first in church. But we never had that. And growing up as Catholics, it was different.
Yeah, and the thing is that important thing is having a very unique a relationship
Hmm.
with the Son of God.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we need that because we have to listen to him when he right now with the pandemic when he said do not be afraid.
Yeah. I'm with
That do
you.
not be afraid. We have to listen to him
Hmm.
and just give ourselves to to him,
To
and he
him.
will take care of you
And yeah,
in every single
why?
way.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
That is so true because looking back, when I moved to New York, and I was just telling somebody that story one day. I started working in a law firm, right? In a law office. I worked, did temp work all over. And this woman walked in and she's like, "You don't belong here." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So because I came from a corporate world, that's what I used to. I do not know anything else. I was like in my 30s, just didn't know anything else. So she said, "You don't belong." 3 times she came. And the only time when I figured it out is just a couple of months ago. Actually, when I started telling my story, when I started going back in my life, I'm walking back. Then I realized it was God because she came 3 times, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And she said it 3 times. And the third time she said, "You do not belong here. You pick up this phone, you call this person." And I'm like, and I said, "I never did that in my life. So why would I do that?" She said, "You call that person." Never saw the woman after that. Never to this day. I can't remember her name. I can't remember who she is, right? Never saw her. And I did pick up the phone. I did call the person. I walked in that job as a nanny, which I never did in my life. I didn't have any credentials, right? No credential. I walked in there and all she said, "I want you to help educate my kids." And I'm like, okay, what else would I do? I didn't know what I did. And it was so funny. I got to spend time with my kids. The job paid me to rent an apartment, live on my own. But still I was angry with God because that wasn't my world.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I wanted to do. So now I come back, now looking back, when I moved from New York and I came here, the same thing happened. I said I did all my certifications. I had nursing, I had all these different stuff. And so I got a job. Same thing happened. When I called one of my ex bosses, she said, "Just do what you do good." I'm like, "What do I do good?" Just be a nanny. I'm like, "Not good at that. That's not what I want." Today I'm 14 years with that same family. But driving in my car one day, and I think I had told you that one day, when I was driving, I said, I was still, "God, why?" And then he said, "The children are the future." And that's when we formed Joyful Hearts.
That's
And
right.
nobody would know. Empty's the one who gave me the name for my nonprofit.
I'm so glad because I think that when you talked about that, you had a joyful heart, and we had it to be the name,
Mhm.
joyful hearts.
Yes.
Yeah, because only a joyful heart will give what your nonprofit needs to.
Yes. And in Joyful Hearts, every time I speak about it, I just feel that joy because what I'm doing, I'm helping the future. Because the kids have their future. And if I can tell my story to a child who is hurting and afraid to talk, so I say, if I can, you can, right? If
That's
I could come through all this adversity in my life, took me 40 something years, but I'm still here. I'm still standing, right? I still have a mom who I can talk to. I still have my traditional, my mom who birthed me, right? She's there, and I say, God, bless her, continue to grow in her, because yes, we don't talk as we should, but I'm grateful.
Oh yeah.
I'm grateful
Oh yeah.
because if it wasn't for her, I would not be here today.
That's right.
And a lot of people out there have their moms and you don't talk to them because they're different. But it's not being different. We still have to value her. We still have to love her for who she is. And I can't make her any different for who she is right now. And that's when I realized it took me years to realize it. But then sometimes you got to say, yes, we have to be apart, but I still love you. I still love you.
What something that you just said, it reminds me of something. I um, I remember that my relationship with my mother was a wonderful one, but that that closeness, that you will learn to talk to them, who you are or who you were, what your dreams were. It was lacking in
Yeah.
there, and but I remember that my mother used to come to Miami and visit us once or twice in a year and visit my daughters and me. And there was one year that she came, and my daughters were in Washington with their father. And that time that I spent with her, that's when I became friend
Wow.
with my mother.
That's
And
amazing.
from there on, the relationship was so close, and we enjoy each other. And whatever I felt for her that I never told her, I learned how to talk to her and said, I love you. I am so proud of you because my mother really deserved it.
Yeah.
She was a great mother, a great teacher, and it was a wonderful wife. And they have a beautiful marriage, my parents. And my father was an excellent father
Excellent.
and a friend also. So, you have to take those chances.
Hmm.
And I think I have a wonderful relationship with my daughters,
Yeah.
and I miss them.
I know, right? It's so.
One is in Miami, the little one, and the
Mhm.
oldest one is in Connecticut, and the middle one is here
Yeah,
in
with you.
Atlanta with my
Oh, I
beautiful,
love him.
handsome.
Can't believe I remember that baby, and now he's like all
Yes,
grown. It's like
yes, that's
it's
right.
so
He's
it's.
graduating
I
from
am.
and going to middle school
I
next
know. I
month.
can't believe that little
And the other
baby.
one is going to third grade.
Uh,
And
it's a pleasure when you
so,
have these kids. It's such a pleasure. It's such a joy to see them.
yeah,
It's just to see them grow. You miss them. Like my youngest is in New York, and I miss her like crazy. It's like I can't, we talk, yes, but
yes,
it's spending that time
that's right.
together. It's so. But they all have to grow. They all have to. They have their own lives to live. But I'm grateful. I love them to much. And it's like for me, before I never knew what really love is, because it was like growing up, it's not like somebody say I love you.
That's right. That was something difficult to say, that the way we were raised. It was very hard to say I love you.
Mhm.
And that's something that I now I hear every time
Every
I talk
time.
to my daughters and my little ones.
Yes. Always.
They always say, I love you, Tata.
Mhm. It's
And
always great to say it. I love you no matter what, because you never know.
that's
It's
right.
like, well, I love you. And even though the kids I took care of, like I have these two kids right now, like AJ and Reese, every time they turn around, it's for me, it's like, I love you. And it's
Yeah.
just like, I love you. So it's like just looking at kids, because we grew up as kids and we want our parents to say, I love you.
No.
And they don't. But out there as parents today, if you see have your kids, just say I love you. Just
Yes.
don't matter what it is, don't matter if you're angry at them. At the end, ask them to forgive you and say I love you. Hugs. Hugs is another one. Just
That's
hugging someone, hugging your kids. And so we will take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back with you. So again, hey, welcome back to If I Can, You Can Talk show. And today we have Maria Teresa Rivera. I have to say it right. For me, it's empty.
not empty,
No,
very full.
very, and empty is empty. Faithful is empty. My beautiful sister, mother in Christ, my spiritual director. And because of her, I became a Eucharistic minister. I just decided to follow my passion, and my passion for kids, my passion for helping others, my passion for the homeless. Because of your faith, for your encouragement, and even though when I'm down or what, you still that smile,
No,
that
that's
smile,
right.
and that encouragement to go on, and you can do it, Deborah.
Yes,
You
I
can-
learned that. Thank you.
You
It's been wonderful to be here.
Mm.
I was nervous to be here.
but
But anyway, just saying what you feel
mhm.
and really expressing how much we love each other. We're great friends. And the best thing that I think we have learned from today, how important it is to say, I love you and happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to all the
Mhm.
moms around the world. And remember, just continue to love your kids, love your mom, no matter what she is, what different she is. They may, your mom and you may not think the same way, or your mom and you may not talk, but still reach out and say, I love you, send a card. That's one of the things people don't do anymore.
That's right.
Send a card or send something. Or now you can send a text with a little emoji or something. You don't have to physically see that person, because I know some people are in abusive relationships with their parents.
Yeah.
And so just continue sharing that love. And as we say, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And so, Empty, I know you're such a special mom. We have all, and one of the things is giving a mom flowers and pink
Oh,
roses.
that's beautiful.
And I would love to share, shower you with this
Thank
Mother's Day, these flowers. And you don't have to stand.
Oh, that's okay. That's very beautiful.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy
Love
Mother's Day. Thank you. The beautiful flowers.
So can you tell your audience one last thing before we leave? We could leave some spiritual advice with them. It no matter what community, and I know you in the Spanish community, you could leave something for your Spanish community, and you could leave something for the world out there to see, for mothers. And you know what? You can look at the relationship we have as mother and daughter, and daughter in Christ. But you can find a mother or someone who is older in your life to give you that, going. So because of Empty, I formed a different relationship with my mom, right? Because I would tell her the struggles I have. But now I could accept who my mom is, and I can love her for who she is.
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
And so I would love her in a different way. And I know she may feel, oh, empty, but it's that what you want because you have that other person who is coming into your life to make you stronger and to show you how you can love anyone, no matter how they are, who they
That's
are,
right.
or what they do. So, right, we have like 5 more minutes. And so I want you, this is your floor now. You have your daughters, you think your family, send them, wish them well, but leave something for the world that they can go.
Yeah, I think that as mothers, there's something that is very, very important is forgiveness.
Yeah.
Acceptance that you're not a perfect mother, or a perfect woman, but that you do have love and you have forgiveness and you have to be patient and we cannot mistreat our kids, and if we have make a mistake with them, recognize the mistake and say, I'm sorry, I love you, I forgive you.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, Spanish community, you can speak in Spanish.
Oh, para mis queridas del grupo de, de la iglesia donde nos conocimos, con toda la comunidad de San Felipe Nisi en español, ellas saben cuánto las quiero, cuánto me han ayudado, cuánto todo lo que me han dado. Además, es como les dije en inglés, hemos aprendido juntas a amar al Señor, a amarnos unas a otras, a reconocer nuestros errores y a de veras amarnos sinceramente y a perdonarnos unas a otras. Nadie de nosotros es perfecto, pero sí nosotros estamos aquí para hacer la voluntad del Señor y para amarnos unas a otras, perdonarnos y arrepentirnos de haberlos ofendido. Gracias. Gracias, Deborah, por este momento y que todo salga bien.
Thank you.
Que sea la voluntad del Señor para tu vida siempre. Has to be the will of God for you always.
Thank you. And you know what? I thank you for accepting my invitation to come on. And I couldn't do anything else without having celebrated Mother's Day with you.
Thank you.
And today, today is like a joy to my heart. This is another chapter in my life that I fulfilled. And I'm going to tell you guys, in the month of June, and because of this lady, for me and my passion, I always wanted to be a missionary. And in June, the month of June, I'll be leaving for Africa with an orphanage where I'll be doing my work for God. Helping out the orphanage out there. One of the things that I realized with the orphanage is that the orphanage has been there for 17 years, but it's not registered. So we have a priest, which is in our, he spent time with me once. Remember that priest? Right?
Yes.
And he spent time in our home. And he always talk about these kids he has. And just last year during the COVID, I said I was going to go just to visit. I was going on a visit. But just during COVID, God had put in my heart, really, really, I started I'm ready to do the work that God wants me to do. Ready to travel the world, ready to just go into any trenches where he wants me to go. And it so happened that right just like a week ago, my ticket was bought and everything. And so I thank God for that I am going to do his work. But what I want you guys to do is I'm going to be putting out a pledge, asking people to help to donate so that we can have that orphanage get registered. and help these kids too, because a lot of the kids are someone's like 18, 19, and they never stayed. Their parents either passed away from AIDS or drugs, or in Africa it's not easy. And then the older ones are taking care of the younger ones. So next week I'm gonna have posting out during the week. I'll post out a challenge. Look out for it on my Facebook page. But then we can put a link on our show every week, so you can donate. And I know that the not it's the orphanage is not a 501c3, so please just give from your heart, because I know you'll not be able to be tax deductible, but we can help them and help these kids to go. So when I get there, at least I can show you guys what we are doing for God's kingdom. Thank you, MT, because Joyful Hearts would not have been formed without you giving us that thing, Joyful Hearts.
Wow.
All
You're
right,
welcome.
so thank you, everyone.
you.
And it's such a pleasure today. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms around the world. And you know what, as we say, MP say, share the love. If you're not speaking to your mother right now, just call or send a text or send an emoji and say, I love you. Because if it wasn't for your mom, if she did not birth you, you would not be here today. You would not be who you are today, no matter what circumstances you go through. As you see, if I can, you can, is where you came from to what you can do today. So goodbye and see you next week.
Bye.